Hey, what's going on? Travis Patel here. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video, I want to talk about how we're going about scaling our ads. Facebook advertising and the methods you use are always updating. Their algorithms changing. You really got to kind of stay up to date. So something we were doing maybe 6 months ago, especially a year ago, isn't going to be the same system we're using today. Before we were doing a lot of smaller budgets, $5 a day, $3 a day, $10 a day, and duplicating those ads over and over and over again where it's the exact same audiences in every ad, and that's how we were scaling. Very simple system. Facebook has updated the way they do things, and now they really try, they want you to avoid overlapping your audience. They don't want to show the exact same brand or store or company to the same user over and over again at too high of a rate. They want to have the ad account and the news feed and their wall and everything like that to be very user friendly. They want it to be a social atmosphere, so it can't just be an advertisement from 19th every single post or every other post on the wall. And this is why they want you to avoid overlap. So that's kind of how we're going about our scaling process and what we're thinking ahead. So I want to show you just kind of one of our recent successes, the numbers, and how we're going about scaling from there. You can see this one we just started about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. We've spent around $500 and pulled in around $3,000. Half of that revenue is probably our material costs, maybe a little less, 35% or whatnot. So still done about $500 to $1,000 profit on this one campaign. And once again, the initial step of this was just kind of finding a winner. We were launching a lot of products, doing very based advertising, where our initial ad we ran here was women 25 to 54, marketing to our niche interest, the band, marching band this is for, the parents, mothers of band, and combine that with parents. Now this is just a WC campaign, website conversion, targeting mobile only. We're choosing the purchase optimization and a 1-day optimization period. So that's kind of where we're starting with our based ads. If it's a mother or a father ad, then it'll be the niche interest combined with a parent's demographic along that. If it's farmers or whatnot, it'll be the dialed in best estimate interest that we have for each of those farm animals or each of those angles of farming. So this is that initial test of finding a winner. Are you going to make money or not? Really a numbers game. If you're reaching out beyond just a single niche, then you can just make sure that you're launching to a lot of niches, a lot of different products to those niches, so that you can just splatter a bunch on the wall, see what works, and run with what does work. So in the video today, I really want to talk about the system we're using when we do find one that works, and how to scale that without overlapping, or with at least avoiding overlap as much as possible. Because once you have a brand going or a niche going, you are going to overlap in your advertising. It's kind of hard to avoid, especially if you're launching multiple products, or you have a winner that's been selling for a long period of time. You want to try different angles. Eventually you're going to have a little bit of overlap there, but we want to try and avoid as much as possible. We've been seeing, with the recent Facebook updates, that when you do overlap, your costs are going to skyrocket on all your ad campaigns. So that's what we're trying to avoid as much as possible. Now, like I said, we had our initial starting campaign here. It was started at a $20 a day budget, just kind of rolling through. Started doing very well. We saw the first success. Every time I have a budget and ad run, we let it go for 3 days. We look at that data, 3 days minimum. We look at the data there and adjust every 3 to 4 day period, just whatever's going on. This one was doing well, so it was time to start scaling. Step one of this is to bump your budget. So we bumped from $20 to $30 as a 33% bump of ad budget there, actually 50% since it was 20 to 30. But that was kind of a larger bump than usual. We started a little lower than usual, where sometimes, usually today, we're starting maybe $50 to $100 on an ad set, especially when it's going to be a winner. But we're going from about $10 jump, and we're going to jump bigger and bigger as we go along, just to try and get that reach going, expand everything that's working on this ad set. Since $20 a day was pretty low, want to get up to $50 to $100 a day as soon as we can, if the reach allows it. This I think has about a 500,000 reach, that initial ad. So we can get that up to about $50 to $100 to $150 a day comfortably without it having too much frequency and really overloading the audience that we have for that. So step one was bumping those budgets. That obviously isn't going to cause any overlap since it's the initial ad set going. Now, as you have ad sets going, you're adding new ad sets. You never want to stop a winning ad set. So if your initial ad campaign is working, then you don't want to stop that winning ad campaign just to start a new ad campaign that might have better demographics or a better estimate of what's going to work. It doesn't really work like that. Sometimes the best estimate isn't going to work out for you, and that initial ad is what's going to continue to take off. So never stop an ad that's working for you, and that's in this case we're not stopping this one obviously because it is working well for us. But we are bumping those budgets. Now from there, what we want to do is we want to look at other angles where the initial ad set that we test is best estimate of our interest. So those buyer interests, those magazines, those publications, those B-list celebrities, those groups and associations, those championships or whatever it may be. From there we're going to angle 2, and this might be a little bit broader of an audience. In this case we tried out drum corps interest. So this is a kind of a division of marching band and a whole another world to that. So we tried those interests out, which was another about 500,000 to 1 million reach. Same type of specifications as the initial, except for those interests were different. Same posts that we're advertising to, except just those interests are different. And we spent about $100, only made about 2 sales from the statistics, and as you can see, the statistics aren't 100% accurate. Where we spent $500, made $3,000. It's saying we only did 48 sales when we really did 84. So you want to keep that in mind, that your Facebook stats aren't going to be exactly accurate, but when we're judging if we should turn one on or off, then we need to look at the standard that Facebook's giving us. So it's kind of just a ratio of our winner to our second one that didn't do well to our third or whatnot. So we ran that for about 3 or 4 days at $30 a day, so it looked like around about 3 days, and decided that wasn't a winner. So angle 2, step 2 there, didn't pan out for the scaling. So from there we can go to a few different things. At this point we probably have quite a bit viewers coming into our sales page. So we want to go ahead and create some custom audiences for people who view our product, people who add the product to their cart, and people who purchase. And from these events that are firing, we're going to create lookalike audiences. This is a key part to scaling today without having that overlap happening. So we created our custom audience of people who have viewed at the time. We're looking for this to be about 300 people, 500. The higher the number, the better, because that'll be more data that Facebook can use for lookalikes. But as long as you have about 300 people, it's usually when we can go ahead and start off. So we created a lookalike of those views, started with a 1% views, so it's about 2 million reach for our next ad set. Step 3 here, our lookalike 1% views, plus we added in the parents. Now we thought about it, these are band mom parents. In our first ad sets we did parents of all ages. Since this is kind of a high school or college activity, we dialed that in a little bit more to parents of 13 to 26-year-olds. So that's 2 different demographics we chose. Still did mobile only, purchase optimization, and 1-day optimization period. This one's doing decently. It's bringing in some money. It's doing better than breaking even, so we're going to keep that running. Did pretty well. That's step 3 of our scaling process from step 4. Then we're going into more of a broad angle. In this case, we used our broad interest in our initial interest because there's not many band interest out there as far as marching band goes. So we won't do a broad interest here, but we'll move on to, for example, if we were doing pigs and we had our dialed interest as our first ad was all pig brands and groups and all those kind of best estimate interests, the broad scale ad targeting would be maybe just targeting the interest pig, which is very large, a few million or whatnot, compared to where the dialed interests are just kind of maybe 500,000 to 800,000 or whatever it would be. Now in this case we're moving on to the next angle, where we tried angle 2 with the drum corps. Next off, I just started up just a second ago, band instruments. So this is dialing in. I did a little Google search for marching band instruments, and we have a list here of all the different instruments that are used in a marching band. And we took these kind of broader interests, combined them with parents again. Again, we are 13 to 26-year-old parents. Same specifications, other than we're targeting different interests here. This was about 800,000 reach we got with this, and starting at $30 a day, kind of dialing in. Now you can also see that we dialed in our age group as well, where we started with 25 to 54, but we broke this down by clicking the breakdown here and then ages. And we saw that the people who are buying are actually 35 to 54. No one's really bought from the 25 to 34 range, except for just one purchase there. Oh, here's our purchase. No purchase, actually, from 25 to 34. So our new ad set we started, we're not even going to include 25 to 34 in that, to kind of dial it in a little bit better. So that just kind of give you an idea of how we're moving across the way as we get more and more data. We're only about 8, maybe 10 days into this campaign, hitting different angles as we go. You might hit a limit on where you can go with angles, so then we're kind of looking at the lookalike audiences. If this one didn't work out too well for us, the 1% views, then maybe next round I would try this combined with a broad band or broad music interest to dial it in even more. As you get more and more traffic, then you're going to have you're going to create a lookalike for your add to cart. So once add to carts gets to 100, 200, 300 event fires, we'll create a lookalike off of that and follow the same process we are with the view lookalikes. And then after that, we're going to do the same thing with the purchases. So this is kind of how we continue to scale with our lookalikes. After we kind of go through all of those, and even during that period, we might want to try different creatives, more so maybe ad styles. So we're doing a website conversion here. Maybe we want to try a click the website ad, maybe we want to try a video ad, maybe we want to try a page post engagement ad, whatever it may be. That opens up things like friends of fans and the connections you can try when you're scaling. And then really the last thing is just trying different creatives as far as the ad itself goes. So then that would kind of be more when you switch to a video ad. And everything we've done so far in the scaling process has been going to that one fan page post that is going to get all the action and get all that engagement. So from here we can maybe try a different fan page post, a different sales copy in our ad creative, maybe a different picture. If we've gotten reviews by now, we can use that. And throughout this entire process, we also have retargeting going. We have our dynamic product ads, and really just collecting all that data and working from there. So that's kind of our step-by-step growth of our advertisements, how we scale when we find that initial winner, and just kind of continue getting this data, growing these assets, because even if you see the lookalike 1% views is maybe breaking even or making a little bit of money, but on the back end we are making more money because we have more than just this one band parent product on the market. So that is pretty much how we go about our scaling. Hopefully you guys got a lot from this. Just even taking it further, you're always want to be looking at audience insights. You can dive into those demographics, see exactly who your audience is, and what other things they like that maybe you can try out in interest. Something we do when we start really having a lot of success, when we start doing also an ad set with no targeting at all, where it's very broad. It lets Facebook take the data it has and the pixel data and optimize for you to the people who are engaging with your ad. So we would choose maybe 25 to 65 plus or 18 to 65 plus, use no interest, anything like that, and let Facebook do its thing. So the untargeting, I believe they call it. So those are just kind of some methods we're using for scaling. Again, the initial step is finding a product that's worth scaling for. A lot of people will try and scale and not have much success because the product isn't really a big winner after all. You know, if you're launching 100 campaigns in a week, you're going to get maybe 15 to 20 that are going to break even or make a little bit of money for you, and then maybe another 10% out of that, one of those is going to make you quality profit that's going to make up all the losses and all that breaking even and everything. That really is going to allow you to do a lot with your scaling and make it worth that long-term push. We're going to be selling for 3-6 months down the road the same product. So guys, my name is Travis Patel. Hopefully you got a lot from this and understand what I'm talking about when we're going with scaling. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to hit me up, and have a good one.